Hi everyone, my name is Upasna, and if you guys don't know me, I lead Peerbagh, which is a nonprofit and works in the United States, Canada, and different parts of South Asia. And as another introduction to me is that I'm also a writer. Recently, my latest book was called Lowell, which just got out in July. And I'm joined here today by Neha Shah. So, Neha, do you want to say who you are?
Yeah, thank you, Upasana. Hi, everyone. My name is Neha Shah, and I am the founder of a kid-friendly communications app called Kaboo. And Upasana and I actually met because I'm also a bilingual children's book author. And honestly, even though I've worked in technology for about 10 years, a lot of the work that I've done both in tech and outside of tech has been very centered on families, especially immigrant families, and how kids get connected with creative cultural experiences.
That's wonderful. So, that makes us two because I've probably already told you I began my career as an engineer, moved into marketing and communications, and then eventually decided that, I needed something that I could hold, which in my case was books. It has always been my safe space as a person. And, with what Kaboo does, we thought there was an interesting intersection point for us, and which I'm going to share with everyone today. We Some of you guys know, and if you don't now, you will. We often do events where we spotlight South Asian authors and creatives, and we have two events coming up. One is in Ann Arbor. It's called the Varta Storytelling Festival, and another one is a Diwali Storytelling Festival coming up in Austin. For both of these, we typically are always trying to engage kids to do something creative, be hands on. And we thought about bringing back letter writing. And, letter writing is an art form a lot of us have known. If you grew up pre social media and pre, phones or iPhones right in front of
Right.
you. And so we thought there was a way in which we could revive that, but with some tech. And Neha, tell us what Kaboo does. How do you join these two things together?
Yeah, so as I alluded to this, for me, Kaboo, it's an app, but it's actually a unique hybrid digital and physical communications platform that was really started with my vision to change and improve the lives of diaspora children like myself. So I'm a third culture kid. I grew up in four countries before the age of 17. And I always noticed that distance felt like it was a barrier for me to have meaningful intergenerational relationships with my extended family who are all over the world. I'm very lucky in that way, but also it's really hard and it's really frustrating as an immigrant when you're trying to connect and relate with loved ones who live abroad, who live in a completely different city or culture from what you are. And Kabuk, the idea of Kabuk came to me because, especially during the pandemic, I noticed two things. One, we all were just um, over stimulated by all the screens we had to interact with for our work, for keeping in touch with everybody because we did FaceTime, WhatsApp calls all the time. But secondly, for children under the age of 13, I mean sometimes even, and I don't know what age kids get phones anymore, but for kids who don't have phones, how do you keep in touch with loved ones, right? And screens seem to be our only way of doing that. So I think for me, the challenge that Kaboo is trying to solve is we want to stay connected in a way that we feel less overwhelmed, we feel less anxious, we can bring out our best, our most creative, personalized self, and use technology as a logistics solution rather than the solution. So Kaboo decided we're very early in this. We've only been around for years, so we're still growing and learning every day with what our customers tell us. But we essentially make it easy for folks to create and send personalized greeting cards, like actual greeting cards, to loved ones who live anywhere in the world. Right now, we deliver to US and to India, and we're looking to expand into Canada and Pakistan as well, hopefully with this partnership. And we just want it to be so you can send a card as easily as you send a text message. So just bringing that magic of physical mail back, because honestly, Upasana, I mean, we love books. I know you and I talked about that, and there's nothing like that tangible connection to paper, and especially when you know that that holds a message from a loved one. And it's so much more exciting, and it's so much more, it just feels more connected than when I get a text message. That's one of the many notifications I see on my phone on a busy day already. Like getting a card actually slows you down. It actually makes your heart beat in a way that you can feel it.
I love that. And for any person who grew up, I guess without this whole technology, we've read books, and recently there's been so much data about the anxiety that technology can cause kids. And so, as a parent, I can tell you, I don't know if my son is getting a phone. Like eventually he will. He's only 5, but it. I do want to sort of find a way to break into that clutter, or break out of it actually. And there are times where I want to share something with grandparents. Like he made a drawing, and I'm like, oh, I wish my mom would see it. And my mom is she was a teacher for 40 years, and so she has a tendency that everything that I send her, she's going to take a printout and then see it. So this literally does that for you. And it's a way to save those memories, because you're going to forget what came on WhatsApp, in some group which you didn't even pay attention to because you get so many
Exactly.
messages. And
Yeah.
so, having something as beautiful as a card be delivered is a wonderful way to sort of keep those relationships. But also, to me, it's, as someone who really cares about children being more creative, it will show them how to use another form of creativity, whether it's by making cards or like writing letter messages. Anyone who grew up in India, I'm going to probably talk about. I mean, there was a time when you were writing letters and letters to like TV programs. Like, I don't know how many of
Hmm.
you grew up with Surabhi or Super Hit Mukabla. Like, people could
Oh, I
write
studied to
letters.
MTV's most. What was that show? There was an MTV show that Rahul Khanna hosted. And I said,
Yes,
like,
yes. I'm forgetting, but of course, yes. So I feel like all of you guys who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, you know what this is. And I think that, it gives you that moment as a family to center around something super creative. And I think, if you're not doing it in your families, I am asking you guys to come out to our events and do it there, because it sort of will give you that space to sort of focus on, hey, I want to write a letter to an imaginary friend, or I want to letter to my grandparent, or anything that you can come up with. And then Kaboo, is the kabutar on it, or it sort of flies
yes,
away with that, and it makes it happen.
it flies through all the pixels and the bytes. And I think the other inspiration for Kaboo, honestly, my inspiration for Kaboo has been all the kids in my life and their parents who work so hard to create these memories and preserve these memories. And for me, the idea of that physical digital connection is because you have the physical card, you put it on your fridge, you store it in a shoebox, but then having the digital archive helps you better organize it, helps you declutter. If, for some families, that's a big thing. You don't want to, you can't keep everything. Like you want to, but you can't always, and you feel guilt. Don't worry about feeling guilty about decluttering, kids' artwork after 3, 4 years, but it's always there. And you'll actually find it, unlike your iPhone that has, I don't know, 50,000 photos, and you can't find that one photo when you need it. But a Kaboo, because of the way we've thought through how we can create memories and make those intergenerational connections, or these just, international connections more manageable and more accessible, where we really want people to believe in that, in building relationships no matter what the distance.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I know that many people in our community have family or friends in different parts of the world. And I think it's just a good way to approach and go back to something, yet being very much technologically savvy and be a part of today's world, but still use something that I think we might slowly be forgetting, which is, dropping cards or letters. And I think I say this a lot to people that, we don't always think about art like this or letters as art, but they truly are an art form. And only when something happens, which is either a moment of extreme joy or sadness, that's when we start feeling the need for it. Because art to me is sustenance. It's not like a hobby, it's something we always need. It's only when we have something happen in our lives that we actually even appreciate it more. So it would be so wonderful to actually keep making these
I
stories
agree.
and keep making those joyful moments physically possible. And that's one way
Yeah.
to sort of make it tangible.
And, just one more thing I want to add there is, we have this whole culture of sending memes, and it's a sign of love, and it is a sign of love. I'm not denying that, but a lot of those memes are they're they're not that unique, right? Like I think it embodies, you connect with it because the emotions it's expressing or the visuals you see on them are like, oh my gosh, this is my memory act, turning on again. And what I'd love to see is for more folks to use services like Kaboo or think about communications in a way that actually brings their own experience. And I want to bring up language because one of the reasons why technology was the way I decided to proceed with Kaboo is because if you're sending if you're sending a text message, you're limited by the keyboard and what language will support, right? But this way you can actually see your handwriting over time, like the kid's handwriting over time or grandma's handwriting, or even we have this ability to attach voice notes or video notes. And I know we can do that on the phone. We can just take a video and send it again, but then it disappears into the stream of text. And then, like now this memory of Nani singing happy birthday to you is connected to that card she sent to you, which is, it's all connected and it's not just lost in all the many attachments and videos and media that we're exposed to on our little tiny devices that just inundate us and kind of just take away from those small special moments that should really be, unique and precious on their own.
Yeah, and I guess I'm going to like tie it back to why Peerbagh wanted to do this is because we truly believe in storytelling. We believe that stories matter and they make us who we are. And a letter or like a little card or a little voice note, these are all stories. Sometimes, I see parents or kids feeling overwhelmed by if they are in one of our workshops, they almost believe that now they have to become an author or write like a 400-page book. Of course, you can, and that is something you can learn to do, and develop yourself to sort of have all the skill sets in order to become an author. That's
Yeah.
absolutely a viable path. But a lot of the stories that we tell in day to day lives are also stories, and to
Hmm.
me it's a life skill that people are developing, and you'd always want to know how to message people at the right times and do that in a way that is empathetic or do that in a way that is creative. And these are all different ways to build that muscle, and these are all different ways in which children can articulate and express themselves. And this might, some of it is low touch, some of it is like very intense, but all of it counts because all of these are small moments and stories that make up your lives. And so after 10 years, when your children are older and you're like, oh, this is how you were writing when you were a 4-year-old, and or this is
Yeah,
what you said when you were 10 years old. And it's just such a wonderful way to look back at how we grow.
I agree. And creating out of love and creating for people you love, there's nothing like it because, that helps you build authenticity in how you show up for people in your life because you'll be like that is that you will be celebrated and that you're not limited in any way. And I think that's what's so great about the workshops that you're creating and the way you're encouraging folks to think about writing, think about storytelling in a way that sure you're not you don't have to become or want to become a published author, but that is a hobby. I mean, I think hobbies need to just stay hobbies on some level. Just do things because it feels good.
Yeah, and to be fair, like it's a hard journey into becoming an
It
author,
is.
and some people will choose that as their life's profession, and that's okay because that's something you grow into. But it's also okay to say that I'm just going to write this letter to grandma because I care about her and because I want her to see, what I've experienced. And I think just knowing that that is just as valuable, or knowing that you meet the child where they're at and what they are most interested in. And I'm hoping that when we meet everyone in Ann Arbor and Austin, you can explore this. And I know Neha and I'll be talking about children, but of course, if you're a grown up who wants to write your imaginary cat, you absolutely can. So please come and
We're all
see us.
children at heart on some level, embrace that inner child.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to meeting everyone who is interested in going back and going forward with letter writing and card making. And we'll put in all the details so that you can figure out how to do this, and hopefully get to meet a lot of you with different stories.